Hi, Super Cristal here, first MVP hour ever live.
Yes, we're at vBrownbag chat, actually, Super Cristal. We are live from Las Vegas. So
at the VeeamOn conference, which is an amazing conference. If you haven't ever been, you're missing out.
So tell me a little bit about the conference, Cristal. How are you enjoying things so far?
I am enjoying it a little too much, I'm not gonna lie. It has been an amazing conference, great networking, great information, and it's been great.
So what you guys can't see, all of our viewers that are out there today, is we have a packed house watching us here for MVP Hour. There has to be 1,000 people watching us in the room here live for MVP Hour. Does that make you feel special, Cristal, having that kind of an audience here with us today?
I always feel special. Okay, let's quickly just go over what MVP Hour is.
What is MVP Hour?
A lot of people might not even know. MVP Hour is a simple Twitter chat, for lack of a better term. And it is MVPs from all over Canada. Started out with MVPs from all over Canada. We now have MVPs logging in from all over the world, actually.
Yes.
That are available to you to answer your questions. So you have 1 hour of basically ask them anything. And they will
hold on.
Almost anything.
So ask us anything? Anything?
Well, you know what? Honestly, they will answer almost anything. You can ask them almost anything, but it is ideally a great forum for you to get your tech questions answered by some of the leading experts.
So I think one of the things that people don't understand is they think that MVPs, guys like myself, we're not approachable. And so we're at a conference like this here this week. You know, come up and find us. Ask us questions. We want to talk to you. We want to talk tech. We're just as big as geeks as all of you guys out there. And, you know, we want to have some fun at the conference.
And honestly, being an MVP, they are MVPs because they are approachable. They are your community link to the expertise that you want to know. Everything you want to know, most everything you want to know is wrapped up in their heads, and they are that vessel to get it out to you. That is why we have the MVP program.
So Cristal, we just had a really good question coming in. So one of the things that you guys aren't seeing on the screen as our viewers right now, follow us on our hashtag MVP Hour. So right now we've got a stream of questions that are actually coming in to us live.
Yes.
MVP Hour has had almost 4 million impressions on Twitter since we launched it in July of this year.
Yes.
We've now had, I think, 6 or 7 MVP hours from as part of the conference. And, you know, we've had such amazing feedback that we just keep running this. So we've had a really good question that's actually come in here. And this question is from at Alan Rayfuse. And he said, what type of storage systems are people using to back up as targets for Veeam? It's a great question.
Which I'm going to let you answer.
So Veeam has actually dropped a few new features for version 9, which are super cool. And one of my good MVP buddies, Mike Resler, actually announced this as part of the keynote and just in some of our discussions here this week at VeeamOn. And that's cool feature is actually scale out repositories for Veeam backup, which is super cool because with that, Cristal, what that means is we can take disparate types of storage appliances and we can merge them together for our storage repositories, and we get the best value out of our storage infrastructure. So that's really cool. That's a great question.
So on MVP Hour, you get your answer in 140 characters or less.
Yes.
Or a few 140 characters
Thomas
or less.
Rayner. Big shout out to Thomas Rayner. I haven't seen him on just yet.
He's on.
So Thomas Rayner, PowerShell MVP.
Yes.
I think he actually stated the fact that a live streaming Twitter chat like this is very challenging for us as MVPs.
That's why I like to challenge our MVPs.
Because we love to talk. We love to have the viewers that are out there. And you know, you have to take and you have to do this in 140 characters or less inside of Twitter, including your hashtags. So very short, to the point answers for everybody that's there.
Absolutely. So I'm going to get you another question here because we do have a few streaming in. I'm going to go
How about this one here from Rick that just came in?
Yeah, so is storage performance a big issue? Quality of service?
So in the audience here today, off camera, is one of my really good friends here, Rick Byrne, at Rick Byrne. And so the question around storage quality of service is of huge importance to any virtualization architects that are out there today. And the reason is the data centers, the modern data centers today are changing. And the modern data centers are changing in the fact that spinning disk is really going away in the data center, Cristal. And we're starting to find that we're actually having too much horsepower. It's like upgrading the engine in your car. That's right. Actually, a good friend of mine here that's also in the audience, Adam Emil Cavett, he has an over 500 horsepower Neon. This would be like him putting 1,000 horsepower motor in his Neon. That thing would go really fast. But the problem is,
it would not go for long.
You don't need to go that fast all the time. So what it is, it's like us putting a governor on Emil's car. So he can only go with 100 horsepower. And that's how I would equate storage quality of service.
Very good.
So Microsoft has made some really cool advancements with this. I am a Hyper-V MVP, and there's going to be some really cool demonstrations actually at the Microsoft booth around storage quality of service, Cristal. And the bottom line is that now we can have a policy-driven engine inside of Hyper-V that will allow us to now throttle and choke back that storage. So that's very cool stuff.
That is very cool. So once again, that's more than 140 characters.
Well, this one's really cool. Why don't we talk
here
about this one here that came in from Alan again.
That he feels like he's at VeeamOn. Look at all the great information on social media.
So the power of social media feeds. So we have somebody that's actually not able to attend the conference. So Alan Rafeys didn't have a chance to actually come to the conference here. And through the power of social media, he feels like he's actually part of this conference. That's amazing to me.
It is.
5 million impressions on MVP Hour. That's really cool.
Yes. I'm just trying to get another question in here, though. What options do you have to make commodity hardware shine?
Oh man, there are so many new cool things that you can do today. Microsoft has come up with so many different new additions to the Hyper-V lineup. And so some of the things that we can now do is we can almost build our own hyper-converged systems with storage spaces direct from Microsoft. Super cool for us to be able to do this. Is that me ringing? I don't think I'm ringing. I hear a phone ringing. Sounds like the bat phone coming to get us. So there's some really cool things that have come out there. And we don't necessarily need to go ahead and buy all tier 1 hardware and do all these things. So yeah, it's cool.
Very cool.
All right, we're just going to scroll down the feed.
Quick. Keep talking about something very interesting, please.
As people are coming up, the thousands of viewers in the audience here that we have today, if you guys have questions, we have Rick, who's our good friend. He's going to actually help fire those questions up onto our MVP Hour hashtag. So he's live on Twitter. So if you have questions for us, go ahead and ask Rick. He'll put them up on the live Twitter stream that we have here. We have viewers coming in from all over the world. Like I said, 5 million impressions on Twitter alone in the last 6 MVP hours, which is really cool, considering the fact that the VeeamOn keynote had about 1.8 million impressions yesterday. So this is cool for just a couple kids from Canada. We're just a couple kids from Canada up here, talking to you about some cool tech. Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to answer another one for me. Why is SMB Direct important?
So SMB Direct is really a game changer for us when it comes to building our storage solutions, especially for Hyper-V. It allows us to take and really get that high impact, high performance that we need across that commodity hardware. So very cool stuff.
Okay, so one more. When it goes GA for Server 2016, we will know more. Oh, that's him answering. So where's my question?
Here's a really good one. Why don't we get this one? So we had a question coming in. So we had a question coming in from the audience. So just so you guys know, you see a lot of these questions coming in from at Rick Byrne. Rick is actually helping us out. Rick is actually helping us out as our moderator here. So he's picking up the thousands of people that are watching us right now, and we've got a super cool one that we've got that just came in. And so what was this question right here?
How is Flash changing the game in the data center?
So you guys may or may not know.
Like Flash?
I love Flash. This is I need to go put on a new suit, a new cape, because that's going to be my new alter ego. I'm going to be like the Flash. Because I take and I present about all Flash solutions in the data center, Cristal, on almost a daily basis with my good friends at GridStore. So they build a purpose-built hyper-converged appliance specifically designed for Hyper-V. And I take and I work with these guys every day talking about these things. So how is Flash going to change the game? Well, I think the biggest piece that our viewers can walk away with is the fact that you're not going to have to change those dying disks in your data center. Those flash drives that you have just don't fail at the same rate as traditional spinning disks. So the value that you're getting out of those drives in your data center is huge. So operationally, you're more efficient. The drives are more efficient because you're getting a lot more I/O that you're able to now drive to your key and critical workloads. And that was not a rehearsed answer.
You haven't talked about that ever before.
Emil, how do we sound? Are we sounding good up here?
Okay,
all right.
So since we're at VeeamOn, I do want to ask this one here. What about the features released for Veeam V9? What are you excited about?
Oh, for me, I'm excited about all the features that are coming inside of V9.
I want that little V.
The coolest feature that I saw in V9 was the V9 Speed Racer.
Speed Racer, that's what it's called.
So outside of the expo hall where we're at right now, there is a V9 Speed Racer. So for all of you that are out there that don't own Veeam V9 right now,
oh, it comes in the box?
That's going to come for you. Everybody is going to own their own Speed Racer for Veeam. They're going to ship it to you.
You heard it here, not here. Here first.
Oh wait, that might have been an NDA announcement. I'm not sure. I may not be a Beam Vanguard after that little slippage.
You don't get a Speed Racer, but you can have a picture of one.
So personally, my favorite feature that I have for Veeam version 9 that's coming out is the scale-out repositories. That by far is one of the coolest things that I think that Veeam has actually come up with, because as I start to transition my storage in the data center, what it means is that I can now take those older arrays that I've got and I can kind of blend them together in one pool. And then when I hit end of life on one of those arrays, Cristal, I can now take and I can evacuate that storage, I can get rid of it, I can replace it, and I can do some really cool things for how I'm going to target a lot of these repositories. So that for me is really cool. One of the other cool things that dropped here at the VeeamOn conference, Linux backups. That's super cool to be able to back up Linux.
Yes.
So how about you, Cristal? What are some of the favorite things?
I was just going to ask you about the Linux backups, actually. That was a big game changer at the conference. That was announced at the keynote, and it was...
I like one word in Vegas. So for all of our viewers that are out there, can you guess what the one word...
Winner, chicken dinner.
That's 3 words. The one word that I love in Vegas...
Free.
...is free. So basically what we've got is we've got yet another product that's been released by Veeam that is free, that is out there to the community. And so this is a huge one. Being able to back up those Linux virtual machines, that's an amazing feature set that we have. Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, since you are a Hyper-V MVP, I'm going to ask you...
How about this one right here?
That was the one I'm going to ask you. So how do you measure performance in Hyper-V? This is something we actually had yesterday as well in our Hyper-V session.
It's really cool.
It is a very
I'm not going to lie to you, Cristal. I'm a little starstruck right now because I have over 1,000 people watching our session right now. If we had panned the camera around, we feel like a rock star up here. This is where MVP hours actually come. So, when we take a look at this is just incredible to me. So how do you measure Hyper-V performance? With a measuring tape. That's how you measure it. All you got to do is you go to your local hardware store, you buy a measuring tape, that's how you measure Hyper-V performance.
Okay, now in an actual response.
So there's PowerShell providers that come with Hyper-V. And so they've done a really amazing job taking and giving this to us, the Hyper-V users that are out there.
Yes.
I'm looking on the live Twitter wall right now and I see a giant
blimp?
NORAD blimp that's actually just floated away.
Anyway,
focus. Sorry, digressing a little bit there. So with the Hyper-V performance counters, we showed this in the session that we did. Yesterday. And so you can use a PowerShell commandlet called measure VM, and you can enable VM resource metering so that you can get real-time diagnostics inside of your Hyper-V environment. So you can get those counters that you're looking for.
And does that if you have Hyper-V, do you already have all this, or do you need to go hunt for it?
No, you have it. It's there for you. You don't need to pay anything extra.
It's free.
And so the other really cool thing, we're at the Veeam conference. It's not a shameless plug to my friends at Veeam. Veeam has also released something called the Veeam Task Manager for Hyper-V. And audience, I'm going to poll you again. What is my favorite word in Vegas?
Free.
That's right. I'm going to get a cherry red Ferrari for?
Free.
That's right. So
All right.
It is absolutely 100% free. And that one there is really important, Cristal, because you guys can record me right now today saying this. And I am going to say this. I may be kicked out of every single program that I'm in for saying this. The task manager in Windows lies.
Oh.
It is a big fat liar. It does not actually tell you the information that you need.
It's a lie by omission?
That's right. And so it doesn't tell you the information that you actually need to dive into those virtualization workloads that you're running inside of your Hyper-V environment and your farm. So, yeah, that Veeam Task Manager, Alec King and his team from Veeam, 2 thumbs up. You guys did an amazing job taking and building that and giving it to us for free.
For free.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so, and I'm going to ask you this one because you are actually a technical evangelist for 5.9. Have you, someone tweeted, what about 5.9? Have you heard about it? Are you using it?
Oh, 5.9 is an amazing bolt-on product. It's actually a sister company to Veeam. I don't know if you knew about that.
I did not know that.
So when you take a look at what you do in the data center today, Veeam does a great job taking and backing up and protecting your critical workloads that you have. With Veeam, you're always on. I sound like a commercial.
You do.
So
an infomercial.
So when you take a look at what Veeam does, it's going to protect those critical workloads for you. 5.9 does something very similar to that for you, and they're going to help secure those critical workloads that you have. So antivirus, firewall, intrusion detection, cloud, Windows Azure Pack extensions, all surrounded, all centric to security. All right.
Excellent. So I am going to do a quick reminder too. When following MVP Hour, please do make sure that you put the hashtag in your tweets and in your responses. Otherwise, they don't show up and they're harder to follow. So it's just a simple hashtag MVP Hour, and we'll be able to track and respond to you quickly.
How about this one here? So this one here actually came in from Mr.
from yesterday.
Virtual PC guy.
Yes.
So we were out and we were hanging around with the one and only Ben Armstrong last night.
Yes.
And we had a really good discussion around what, Cristal?
Around nested virtualization.
Nested virtualization for us Hyper-V, Microsoft guys that are in the house here.
You've been waiting for it.
This is something that's so near and dear to our heart. Do you want to know why? Because we've been waiting for it for like 8 years. And so the Hyper-V team actually snuck this in.
Did they make it happen?
They actually snuck this into the release for Windows 10 Insider Preview, the Insider Track. And so now we can actually do nested virtualization.
So the question we had yesterday was, what is it? Why do I want it? And when can I get it? So the answer is now.
Yes.
For the last one,
and
you can get it
how
now.
How much does it cost, Cristal?
0.
It's free. Exactly.
And why do you want it? Why would you want nested virtualization?
Because it's cool and all the cool kids are doing it. There's no doubt about that. So if you haven't used or played with Hyper-V yet, you're missing the boat, folks. You need to take and you need to get on this because you know what? All the cool kids do it, and that's why you need to use Hyper-V.
That's a little different than Ben's answer, but we'll go with it.
So I'm gonna leak something to you guys here. I'm gonna leak a little thing. Hyper-V is so easy to use. I'm just waiting for the Twitterverse to go nuts on this. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
This is how I train administrators of Hyper-V.
It's so easy Cristal can do it?
That too, yes, absolutely. If you can Control-C
and
Control-V, you can manage Hyper-V. That's right.
Speaking of managing.
I patented that, by the way, so don't steal that, everybody.
Hyper-V Task Manager. Tell me a little bit about that.
We just talked about Hyper-V Task Manager.
Oh, I missed it.
So Hyper-V Task Manager is that free tool that comes from Veeam, right? So that's pretty cool. So I think the nesting of virtualization, though, when we look at what this is going to do for us in the industry today, Cristal, is going to be the biggest game changer for me that's going to hit the virtualization industry, is the Microsoft Nested Virtualization. Now, Nested Virtualization is not something that's new to Microsoft. We've been able to do it on other platforms for a long time. But one of the things to really bear in mind is that Microsoft has a big subscriber base of people out in the cloud that actually use Hyper-V. And they have this thing called Azure. And so,
I've heard of that.
yes, all of those workloads that are up in Azure are powered by
Hyper-V.
They're all powered by Hyper-V. So now what you can imagine with Microsoft's innovations around nested virtualization and why they are pushing so hard to release the nested virtualization platform and early releasing it into Windows 10, we're going to shortly be able to run nested virtual machines in Azure. This is going to be huge, profound game changer for the industry.
Absolutely.
And so, like, just think of you being able to run stretched clusters now up into Azure, live migrating your workloads up to Azure. Now, none of these features are actually released yet. So this is almost
making promises, but
this is almost in honor of Back to the Future, because they were 15 to 20 years ahead of their time. Back to the Future. They predicted that the Chicago Cubs would be in the World Series. Now, it didn't happen. That's fine. But you know what?
They were close.
That's still pretty good. They predicted self-strapping shoes. Did you know that Nike's actually going to ship a pair of those to Michael J. Fox? Self-strapping shoes.
I think Michael J. Fox is going to get all kinds of cool stuff this year.
Exactly.
Okay, how about networking advice, teaming firmware drivers?
Oh, this is a really good one. So I do a lot of work in the fields almost every single day, setting up new Hyper-V farms with the work that we're doing with GridStore. Are we still okay? Okay, so with the work that I do with GridStore on almost kind of a daily basis, going around standing up new farms, Cristal. And so when Server 2012 R2 launched, Microsoft launched the capability to have their own independent network teaming stack inside of Windows Server 2012. And you can actually team now cross vendors. So I can have like an HP NIC, a Broadcom NIC, an Intel. I'm not saying this is a good idea, people, okay? Can you do things? Yes, it's a good idea. No, probably not. But you can actually use the native teaming drivers that come right within Windows. And what this solves is a huge problem for you, worrying about firmware and drivers that you have to worry about from the manufacturers. Now, whenever you're setting up a Hyper-V server and a Hyper-V farm, it is still of paramount concern to us that you work with those vendors very closely, the hardware vendors, to make sure that the driver stack that you're using is certified. Because there's bugs, issues, hot fixes, things like that that'll come out and that'll happen. And you need to make sure, because you could be having an issue where a driver could be causing some problems in the kernel. We could be having blue screen issues, who knows? So the rule of thumb, guys, is always make sure at a hardware level that your firmware is always up to date, that your drivers are always up to date, and that your Hyper-V hosts are always patched. And some great tools that we can use to report on that. So my good friend in the audience of the thousands of people that are here is the one and only Simon Perryman. And so he works for Five9 Software as a VP of Business Development, and they have a product called Five9 Manager for Hyper-V. And one of the favorite things I have in there is actually gives you a reporting stack for Hyper-V, so you can actually see what's going on inside of your environment.
Very
Simon,
cool.
Don't worry, I got my shameless plug-in for Five9 for you.
Okay, can we do this one? What impact does Windows deduplication have on performance?
Well, so this is an interesting one because this is along those lines, Cristal, of the things that you can do, should do, and are supposed to do with your virtual environments. So can we turn on deduplication inside of Windows Server 2012?
Absolutely.
The answer is yes, absolutely. Do we get amazing compression ratios on VHDs and VHDXs that are running inside those volumes?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Is that supported by your manufacturer, by Microsoft? And the answer is yes, but only in certain use cases. So if we run VDI, we can run VDI We can run VDI on a scalable file server cluster. We can deduplicate at kind of that level. So there's very limited use cases that it's actually supported by Microsoft. And this is actually a very dangerous and slippery slope that you run down, because the moment that you start falling outside of platform support with your vendor, and you have to pick up the phone and you have to phone Microsoft for help, and they're going to take and make you move all of your data off that deduplicated volume, that's going to be a problem for you. So that being said, I've done lots of things for years that I'm not supposed to be doing. Like, for example, virtualizing Exchange. We used to virtualize Exchange for years before the platform team actually supported it. But you just have to understand that you're on your own for support when you do that.
Absolutely. And you have to understand, just because you can do things, just like in life, just because you can do some things doesn't mean you should. You need to know if it's right for your particular scenario.
Wow, time is absolutely flying on us here. We're almost at the halfway mark of MVP Hour live, coming to you from Las Vegas.
We're past the halfway mark.
Wow, just having all of these people, around us, and just doing this live. This is a great framework. We should do this more often. We
should get a live question from someone in the audience, but they're eating.
It's lunchtime in the hall here.
All right, let's find another good one here.
So I have a quick question for you, Cristal, in relation to community.
Okay.
So this question here is something that I've been asked by some of the attendees at the VeeamOn conference 2015, and it's just in relation to community and the interaction of the over 1,800 attendees that are here. What is the feeling and the presence of community and the networking that's happening here amongst experts of kind of cross-platform at VeeamOn?
Oh, the networking here, the community, the sense of community here is top-notch. Like, it is, everybody, I sound like a song, everybody knows everybody. But it's been an amazing event. We get to walk down the hallway, and I don't think we've walked down this hallway once without running into somebody who's like, hey guys, we know so many people, and everybody knows each other because it is a tight-knit community. The IT community is a tight-knit community. We're large, we're spread all over the world, but we all...
And we're coming from cross-platforms as well.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter if you're a VMware vExpert, if you're a Hyper-V MVP, if you're a system administrator and you're just learning the technology and you're here to just get a grasp of what's going on in your industry.
Your Beam Vanguard.
Everybody is sitting down at the same tables together. And the Beam Vanguard program, Cristal, is just fantastic.
Tell me what is the Beam Vanguard program, because that did come up here.
So what the Beam Vanguard program is in relation from a community perspective, the easiest way that I could explain this is like Veeam's MVP program. And I am absolutely thrilled to be part of the inaugural group. I think there was about 30 of us or 32 of us from around the world that were part of the inaugural Veeam Vanguard program.
And how did you get to be a Veeam Vanguard?
Well, so first thing I had to do is I had to send in my bribe checks to Veeam.
Absolutely.
And so this was really key. No, it's a matter about being out there and being in the community, all joking aside. And so at the Veeam Vanguard Day, so they set aside an entire day for us as Vanguards with some special NDA content, and we got to actually spend time. We got to spend time with Ratmir, the CEO of Veeam. He took time out of his busy schedule to actually come chat with us, a group of 30 of his evangelists that were around the world. And so that is so cool to have that. And you know what the coolest part for me was the fact that sitting right beside me would have been a VMware vExpert, would have been another industry expert that was out there. To get Hyper-V MVPs and VMware vExperts in the same room,
agreeing with each other,
not fighting with one another, was amazing, because I think this is actually one of the first frameworks of a program that actually has the VMware vExperts and the Hyper-V MVPs all coming together. and for one unified purpose, which was to learn some more about Veeam.
Absolutely.
And I can honestly say this, Veeam is really kind of the #1 de facto standard now for backing up and protecting your virtual environments. It's not just another shameless plug. 168,000 customers can't be wrong. So here's a little trick for you guys out there. And so this is something that I typically use when I'm looking at new technologies. Okay, are you ready for this, Cristal? I will not look at or install a technology until the company has at least 165,000 customers. So now that Veeam has 168,000 customers, I feel good that I can actually now go talk to my customers about this.
Okay.
Every time.
Thanks for that.
You guys have to understand this. If you guys haven't seen our Channel 9 show that we have, Cristal and I have
Dave
over
likes to
20
mess me
episodes
up.
up on
Yes.
Channel 9. It's channel9.msdn. So what do we have?
We have a new follower who
Oh,
just
very good.
asked a question. What is the
Interview
biggest...
with an MVP. Search it.
Yes. Ari Sepperstein.
Who's that?
Stein?
All right, so what is our question here,
What is
Cristal?
the biggest hurdle a customer might face trying to replace their current hypervisor with Hyper-V?
Oh, that is a great question. So are we talking about Olympic height hurdles? Or it depends what we have.
Biggest hurdle.
Do you know what I actually find is the biggest hurdle and the biggest challenge for VMware administrators that are moving over to Hyper-V is they're moving
Their
into
Hyper-V MVP that they have to work with?
their Hyper-V MVP they have to work with probably sucks, right? So that's probably the biggest issue. But the biggest issue I find that they have is it's an unfamiliarity with the management interface, with the management UI moving over to Hyper-V, because the feature stack that we have is really getting close to a feature parity between VMware and Hyper-V. That discussion's starting to kind of go away, but it's an uncomfortable experience for a VMware administrator to move over to Hyper-V. And so our good friend Simon here from Five9, one of their flagship products that they've gone to market with is their Five9 Manager for Hyper-V. It actually gives a VMware administrator that look of vCenter for managing Hyper-V. A single pane of glass for managing your clusters, for managing your hosts, for managing your guests, everything. All your reporting, your real-time metrics, your alerting, all of that stuff in one single interface. And so that tool is actually very cost-effective for what Five9 goes to market with. And that right there is, that I can overcome so many hurdles, because then my go live time with the VMware administrators is so much lower, because at the most fundamental level, the hypervisor and the stack and how we interact with that, all of the products that are out there in the industry are very similar for the way that they do things. But it's how do we do and how do we manage our day-to-day jobs and our day-to-day lives inside of there. So we've actually used that as a compete tool, even from Microsoft. So I do a lot of work with Microsoft Canada, and we can even use that tool when we go in and demo and showcase. Because the alternative to that is that I have to take and I have to load up Microsoft System Center, and you can't just snap your fingers and load up Microsoft System Center. It pushes back a lot of VMware administrators. Great product, but you have to look at how it's going to scale. And so with the Five9 Manager, you can install it in a matter of minutes, and you've got that kind of friendly interface. So very, very cool.
Okay, I'm going to jump to another question.
Simon's actually going to take me out for dinner for saying that.
What is the #1 performance bottleneck?
Oh, this is a great question. Okay.
That's why I read it.
And so I know. And so, Cristal, you and I work for a storage vendor, actually. So we work, we're part of what's called the Grid Store Technical Advisory Council.
Yes.
So we get a chance to see a deep dive into storage and all of the issues that kind of customers are having and facing in industry. And from all of the conversations that I've had over the last 2 to 3 years, the #1 issue that I've seen in virtual environments is storage bottlenecks. People run out of I/O inside of that infrastructure. And you know why? Because us as virtualization administrators, we may or may not have been doing this now for a few years. Because virtualization's been out for a few years now. We're 10 plus years of virtualizing things in our data centers. And we're getting pretty good at configuring the networks. So pretty sure we're starting to get a handle on, configuring the networks and, configuring those back-end pieces of the infrastructure. But the problem is that we'll always have that noisy neighbor. We'll always have that situation where we've got 4 dudes in a hot tub.
Back to the 4 dudes in a hot tub.
And so what's the problem with having 4 dudes in a hot tub?
There can be so many problems.
You're sharing the same hot tub. We're all in the same pool, right?
We're all in this together.
That's right. And so the problem is that, we're all sharing that same piece of infrastructure, that hot tub, so to speak, as our array.
That hot tub image brought to you by Dave actually came from a slide deck earlier in this show.
We actually presented that. We presented that on Monday. And it was a
surprise slide.
It was a session that I did with Mike Stafford.
Yes.
And I had no idea that slide was coming up. It's kind of like a random picture of a cat coming up in your presentation. That's the situation where your buddy gets your laptop before you go on stage, and all of a sudden you've got a cat on every single slide. You even have no idea why you've got cats.
How do you do that?
So storage, number one issue. So with having all flash solutions that are out there, the new hyper-converged solutions that are kind of coming to market, it's becoming easier for us to now overcome a lot of those traditional barriers. And remember, we talked about this earlier in MVP Hour, storage quality of service.
Yes.
Storage quality of service for you is of paramount concern because now you have these arrays that are giving you so much I/O. Remember, we'll rewind here 20 minutes. We were talking about at Emil Cabot's 500 horsepower Neon. Upgrading that Neon to all flash is like putting 1,000 horsepower in his Neon. It's too fast. We need to put a governor on that. Because at the end of the day,
Emil will hurt himself.
Regardless of what you do, it's always going to be a Neon.
Okay,
all right, so
you keep talking, I'm just finding another one
15 minutes to go. So remember, folks, if you're just joining us in or you're coming in late into the video, we do these live Twitter chats about once every 2 to 3 weeks. You want to follow us on hashtag MVP Hour.
Normally, we would be typing all these responses, and it can be very fast-paced. It is a great thing to actually, you end up having to go back and scroll through a little bit afterwards, but those MVPs are on it. You ask them your question, you will have at least one MVP with an answer for you like that, and they love it. They love to interact with the community, and this is just another forum where they get to really get their knowledge out to people.
So Cristal, let's just talk about that kind of community interaction again, because I think that's a really important talking piece that we can go through here. Is why did you build MVP Hour? Because this was really your brainchild to build MVP Hour. Would you find that when you're at these conferences that you felt that your industry experts, your V experts, your Hyper-V MVPs, your MVPs in general from these different programs, did you find that they were really approachable?
They are very approachable. One of the biggest problems the MVPs have is not having time to give to people, but it's actually having that conduit, that availability, a way to be available to the people. And that was something that, so I run a conference back home, MVP Days, and it was brought to my attention that getting all those MVPs in one place doesn't happen very often. And to be able to give people a chance to interact with them, network with them, just get the knowledge from them was a big selling point for this conference, and I don't think you should only get to do that once a year.
Well, no, exactly. And so with the MVP Hour as well, it provides us a platform and a framework to bring people in from around the world.
Absolutely.
And so we have people joining us from Europe, from Russia, from Australia, from all over the world coming in. And we run all of our MVP hours today using kind of Central Standard Time. And so they're dialing in at what could be like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning their time. And they're staying up late to be part of that conversation.
Absolutely.
And it's something that I haven't seen out there yet.
So I'm going to go back to a little bit of technical questions here. So I've got a good one here. Will Hyper-V containers replace Hyper-V VMs? or are they complementary?
Well, so that's a really good question. So with your traditional virtual infrastructure that you have, I think there's always going to be a place for what I'll call fat VMs, the full VMs, the full kernel, the full OS load that's going to be there. And containers is really introducing something to us that allows us to rapidly provision virtual environments. So those web scale companies that need to take and scale out very quickly, being able to take and do that in a nested fashion is going to be of real importance to industry. Now, one of the problems that you're going to run into with some of these technologies, with like Dockers and containers and all these things coming out, is manageability. So manageability is going to be a big issue for this, because in today's flavor, the unfortunate reality is when you're looking at the previews of containers that Microsoft is providing you, a lot of that management needs to be handled directly from PowerShell. And so that becomes a problem for adoption. So, I think that there's going to be some kind of cool announcements with organizations that are going to be releasing solutions to kind of support those platforms and those frameworks.
Okay, so I know we bounce around a lot on MVP Hour, but I want to quickly ask, someone asked how you can get involved in the Veeam community. So we talked about what a great community is here at VeeamOn.
Yes.
But how do you get involved? You're a Vanguard, if someone else were to want to
join the Vanguard program or be interested in the Vanguard program?
I do know that the Vanguard program is growing.
Yes.
So
we are recruiting.
We
can never have enough.
But how do you go about that? How would you take the initial steps to try and become part of this awesome group?
That's actually a really good problem. So a really good
problem?
It's a really good question. So right now, I'm not even sure if there's a formal nomination process. Like for us as Hyper-V MVPs and MVPs in general, Microsoft actually has a landing page for us, Cristal, that we can go and we can nominate our colleagues in industry. So when we see somebody out there doing amazing work, we can actually nominate them and get that process started. I don't actually know if that landing page is there yet, because the Beam Vanguard program is very new to Veeam.
It is.
So my best advice and my best suggestion for you, if you're interested in being part of this amazing Veeam community, is to contact one of the evangelists. So the evangelists like Rick Vanover, Clint Wyckoff, there's Luca, and there's Mike Resler. You're Veeam All-Stars. So you'll see this as part of like the Veeam keynote. Those are the four guys that were on stage.
When you watch that keynote, those All-Stars, those are the guys you want to talk to. They will be able to, I won't say they will get you on the Vanguard, but they will be able to guide you in the right direction so that you have that opportunity.
No, exactly. And so those guys are once again also very approachable.
Yes.
So as you go through that, when this video posts on the vBrownbag, what we're going to do is we'll actually add some of those Twitter aliases in the comment fields, because we're not really running a live presentation. This is just kind of our live MVP hour session that we have. That's right. Home phone numbers.
They prefer to be called at 3 a.m.
Meal preferences. Right?
Home address.
Being an international hand model like I am, we get a lot of exposure in the industry. All right.
I'm trying to find another good technical one before we run out of time.
So while you're finding that that next question that's coming up, Cristal, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the work that you do in the community. So it's my understanding that you actually put on your own conference. Is that right?
I do.
I
just spoke about that.
Who's involved in that?
Who's involved?
How many MVPs did you have involved in that conference?
We had 23 MVPs in a 3-city roadshow this year.
So 23 Microsoft MVPs were involved.
Absolutely.
And this was only our second year that we ran the roadshow.
And I want to say one thing: the MVPs that came, these were guys that came from all over Canada and US to present at this conference. They did it because of their love for the community. It was not me sending them awesome packages and payment and everything.
MVPs love swag though.
They do love their swag.
Yes.
But
so do Vanguards. Keep it up, Veeam. We love the swag.
They came of their own accord. They came to have that chance to get, once again, like I said, get their knowledge out to the community. That is what being an MVP is.
So that actually brings up a really good point, because trying to get involved in the community, it can sometimes be very difficult to actively get speaking spots at conferences if you're not already that kind of de facto industry expert. So one of the things that Cristal wanted to do when she set up and built MVP Days was build a platform and build a framework for those people that are out there that want to get up and speak. They've got great knowledge, they're personable, and it's almost like build an MVP. It's like going to the mall to build a bear workshop, but it's build an MVP.
It's just like that.
Exactly. Every time we do these things live, I can normally stump her, and I can make it. I can have it to the point
because I need to start just ignoring
that she can't even talk.
All right.
All right. So
I want you to talk about.
So why don't we talk a little bit about the launch of the new Surface products?
Oh yes.
Those are pretty cool.
I want one.
So what do you think, Cristal, about the launch of the new this new Surface Book Pro?
I'm in love. I haven't held it, but I know already I am in love. I want one so bad.
So, did you have a chance to watch the opening keynote where they were describing like how they were engineering those Surface Book Pros?
I watched it with fervor. I loved that. I was very, very excited. It's not often. I mean, I'm always excited about technology, but it's not often where I get I see something and I'm like, I have to have that.
Yes.
And when I saw that keynote, I have to have that.
So do you want to know why I want that particular device? Because I carry around like a 400-pound laptop.
Yes.
And I carry these things around to conferences, and I want that to be my new presentation laptop.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Ben Armstrong at Microsoft, for giving us nested virtualization. Because now I can actually build my entire lab on a Surface.
Perfect.
Exactly.
And I really want one.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to have to wrap up here.
Is it that time already?
I'm getting you're down to 2 minutes here.
Wow.
So thank you guys for coming out and joining us for MVP Hour.
This is our biggest audience we've ever had.
This was
over 1,000 people are watching us right now.
Yes. So this was our first time trying to do this live. It actually was.
It was great.
It was amazing.
That's right. So
we will try and do this a little more. They will not always be live, so you can follow us.
They're live from now on.
No.
I just announced that. I just dropped that. They're live.
He announces live. So
I'll announce another conference too.
All you gotta do,
MVP Days coming to the States.
Hour. You will know when the next
States.
ones are, and you will have a great forum to ask your questions and get them answered by industry experts.
Awesome. Hey, Cristal, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.